Security has been tightened in Washington, D.C. ahead of a court appearance by former U.S. President Donald Trump. Well, barriers have gone up around the Capitol and the courthouse, where he is scheduled to be formally charged in a hearing. In this third criminal case against him, Mr. Trump stands accused of attempting to overturn the 2020 election. Well, 6 alleged co-conspirators in the indictment have not been named, nor have they been charged. But U.S. media say they include his personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, and attorney Sidney Powell, who pushed theories about voting machine manipulation. Mr. Trump's former right-hand man has criticized their legal advice. Mike Pence was the vice president. His attempt to certify Joe Biden's election victory in Congress was disrupted by the January 6 insurrection.
Sadly, the president was surrounded by a group of crackpot lawyers that kept telling him what his itching ears wanted to hear. And while I made my case to him of what I understood my oath of the Constitution to require, the president ultimately continued to demand that I choose him over the Constitution.
For more, Nick Harper joins us live now from Washington, D.C. Now, Nick, Mr. Trump set to appear in court in just a few hours. Just walk us through what exactly can we expect?
Well, this has become a very familiar process for the former president. As you mentioned, this will be the third time that he will be formally charged in a courthouse in just the last few months. So we're expecting him to travel from his residence in Bedminster, New Jersey, making the short trip down to Washington, D.C. He's due to appear in the courtroom at 4 p.m. local time, so he will probably head to D.C. an hour or so before that. Once he arrives at the courthouse itself, he will be picked up by the police teams there. He'll be booked, he'll be fingerprinted, but like before, we're told there will be no mugshot. He'll then be walked into the courtroom, and then those 4 charges against him, including conspiracy to defraud the United States, will be read out, and he'll have an opportunity to plead to each one of them. The expectation is that he will plead not guilty. So it'll be a rather straightforward, quick process in itself, a hearing that perhaps will last under an hour. There then will be some discussion between the lawyers as to what happens next. We're unlikely to find out a trial date today. That will come in the coming weeks. So a straightforward process, but of course, potential for protests outside the court itself. As you mentioned, security has been tightened. Those metal barriers have been erected just in case there's any problems, any disruptions outside the courthouse itself.
So Donald Trump will plead not guilty. He will still remain the front runner for the 2024 Republican nomination for president. Any indication that, these cases will even dent his popularity?
No indication at all. They've done the exact opposite. They propelled him even further up the opinion polls when it comes to all the Republican candidates. He's now 37% of his closest, ahead of his closest rival, a huge margin, a margin that has increased since March, when he was first charged in the first of these 3 cases. And in many ways, he has made these indictments, these cases against him, central to his re-election campaign, portraying himself very much as a victim of what he says is a corrupt justice system. The Biden administration trying to stop him from getting re-elected is the way that he is saying that this is all playing out. And we've also seen his fundraising increase hugely over the last few months. There is data that shows there is a spike in grassroots donors around these court dates. Each time that he appears in court, he has been actively pushing for more donations to help him with his legal fees, but also with his campaign to get re-elected. So certainly no suggestion at this stage that any of these legal troubles are causing him any problems when it comes to his re-election campaign.
Good to know there. Thanks very much, Nick Harper, reporting to us live from Washington, D.C.